Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Carrow Road. The goal here behind me. How do you do that? There you go. There it is. The Barkley goal that saw no goals in the 90 minutes here in Norwich City's first Carabao Cup tie of the season, first round tie. Home here to Birmingham. Saw no goals in the 90 minutes, but we did go straight to extra time because it finished 2-2. All the other goals were up the other end. But it did see 6 penalties scored and another 2 missed. Have I got that right? I think so. It was finished 4-2 anyway. Norwich going through here. They are into the second round of the Carabao Cup, which is obviously terribly exciting. I can't bring myself to call it a win. Dean Smith was talking and being questioned about it being a win and nice to find a way. And they won a penalty shootout, which means they stay in the competition, which is great. But, they didn't win the game. It was a draw. They threw away, and it was throwing away, really, a 2-goal lead that they accumulated very quickly in added time at the end of the first half. They couldn't hold on to that. They couldn't recover the situation when it became 2-2 in the final 10, 12 minutes. In a game that became pretty chaotic, a bit of a mess and kind of a basketball match, really. So, they haven't lost. I'm probably undecided as to what the game does in terms of Norwich's place this season. But, I missed, I'm sure if you haven't watched On The Ball, we recorded the On The Ball podcast on Monday night. So please catch that up because there was a lot of catching up. I know that I was away for the Wigan game, but I have watched it twice, and I should probably apologise at this point for the video verdict against Cardiff, which took ages to go up because I thought I could pre-record it and I couldn't, hence why I'm going live tonight, so I won't do that again. Here I am now. Yeah, so I have watched the Wigan game and then tonight, so I feel like I can assess where Norwich are already this season. And actually, Birmingham at times, bearing in mind they are a championship club, but they made a lot of changes. They had quite a young side themselves out tonight. They kind of used the ball better than both Cardiff and Wigan were able to. I thought they were arguably the best of the 3 teams Norwich have played. For want of wanting to avoid being cut out and taken completely out of context again, which is going to make it a very long season if that's going to happen all the time. Don't do it. If I say something about the first half, which is preceded by the words first half, don't cut out that sentence on its own and not include first half and then claim it's what I said about the entire 90 minutes or that it's some deluded response. It's not. Don't do it. Anyway, yes, back to where I was. I've been set on that for a week. Birmingham, I thought were probably more coherent than some of the sides, but Norwich as a team themselves in these 3 games against championship opposition, to me, they look technically superior. They do. They can move the ball quicker. They can pass the ball more accurately and better. They look more threatening. They look like a much more proficient side than the teams they've come up against so far, hugely. And to be honest, all 3 sides are probably going to be bottom half to bottom third of the championship at the end of the season. I'd be surprised if any of them are significantly ahead of that. But Norwich seem to be in the midst of a psychological battle with themselves. They clearly have forgotten how to score goals, which is understandable because last season was pretty horrible. They are unsure defensively, and if they, if things aren't going their way, then that does knock them a bit. But all the time, they also have this kind of quite clear belief that they are very good at this level. What they're probably missing at the moment is that dynamic of making it happen rather than playing, thinking it'll happen because they are good at this level, rather than going and proactively making it happen. And I think, that is something that teams, that Norwich as well, but teams take a while to find. But also you can't be deluded. Sometimes they don't find it, and then they will be judged obviously a bit more harshly. You do have to give some time for that. And I would say it's probably about 10 to 12 games. So if people look at me and listen to me and think I'm sitting on the fence, I'm not. It's just there's certain elements you have to let play out. But tonight was really interesting because I think you can start formulating some opinions that have a degree of basis and see where that takes us. So, for example, Norwich are on the brink of being a bit screwed at left back because Sam McCallum felt something in his foot, on the top of his foot. It took him off early in the game. Obviously, Dimitris Giannoulis is probably going to be out for at least 2 months and potentially longer. That could be both left backs out, and we're 3 games into the season. That would be an issue. Bearing in mind Sam Byram is still not fit because both Sam and Max are capable of playing left back, as is Jacob Sorensen, who actually started the game today at right back to see how he would play there. I would say in both roles, Jacob is, as we saw 2 years ago, absolutely capable of playing there. And, he won't do a spectacular job. He'll do spectacular things, as we saw, but, he's capable. He will do what you need him to, just as he does in midfield, to be honest. That's just the sort of player he is. So he can cover, but obviously he can't cover both positions. And whilst the transfer window is still open, if Sam is out for a few weeks, it will be interesting if that forces Norwich's hand. It's very difficult, though, to make a useful short-term signing, I must admit. Although someone did post a comment about Jamal Lewis being potentially available on loan. I mean, stranger things have happened, but that's just me talking freely. I have no indication that it would even be discussed or a possibility. Right, I better rattle through these though. But Norwich's 2 goals, they scored them in injury time just after of the first half, just after Sam McCallum went off injured, which was very similar to the time frame of Norwich scoring their goal against Wigan, with Timmy Giannoulis going off injured on Saturday. The first goal was well worked from Jordan Hugel's cross and a downward header from Daniel Sinani. It's hard to imagine really that was his first competitive goal for Norwich and what is only his 3rd appearance for the club, given he's been here so long. But that was great, and I thought Daniel was bright in patches. Jordan did pull across for crosses probably more than I would have liked him to, and he was willing to do it, but they were kind of crosses that he should have been on the end of really, ideally. We are seeing Norwich play a 4-1 effectively, but that is obviously pretty close to a 4-3-3. We saw Gabriel Sara start. He had all sorts of trouble with his shin pads throughout, certainly the first half. I think the problem got a bit more sorted out in the second. But it was like every time he moved, his shin pad popped out of his sock. I don't know how that happens, but hopefully he's going to get a lifetime supply of tape for the rest of the season. You can see, I think, that he needs a little bit of time. His runs, I like his forward runs. I think he can spot a run and he can spot where he needs to go in space. And I think he's got good vision. And I know that from what I saw of him and caught up with him in Brazil. But yeah, I think that he probably needs a bit more time to be judged. But there's clearly something to work with there, which is exciting. But I think primarily what I want to talk about is Jonathan Tompkinson. I thought was excellent at centre back for his senior debut, and is definitely an adequate cover option for Norwich actually going forward. So he can be a full centre back this season, as far as I'm concerned, on that showing at Championship level. So that's good news. And obviously Grant Hanley was back today from suspension, and also Liam Gibbs, who I thought was probably a level above that. I thought he was excellent. He does really cover the ground. He physically capable, given he's quite young. I think he's strong. He's not the tallest, but he does get about, and he is powerful, and I think he uses the ball really well, and I think he can win it back and do a defensive job. I think he has done supremely well, actually, since he's been featured in pre-season, and to see him do it tonight, is really encouraging. So he is definitely a midfield option, and if for some reason he doesn't get a lot of games and Isaac Hayden's back and whichever, then I think a Championship club would love to have him on loan, if I'm honest, looking at him. So and I'm probably talking about January at that point rather than this window, because I think he'll be in and around it for a bit. So that was all good. Angus Gunn started. So a good opening goal in injury time from Sinani. And then Jacob Sorensen takes a chest and pings an outrageous curling shot into the top corner. It was under less pressure than his goal against Marseille, but that was pre-season away from home. This was here. It was an absolute beauty. Fair play to the guy, because, for someone who Dean Smith says, they don't work on that. He's done it twice now, and it is definitely an option for scoring goals from a team that doesn't do it a lot. So brilliant, Jacob. And as I said, just the level of job he does for the team, for some of his shortcomings in terms of pace and maybe being a bit too laid back at times. I just think he's a great player to have in the squad, and I'm glad he's still here and hasn't gone out on loan or anywhere, because I think Norwich will be able to utilise him definitely. So yeah, all good. And then, Norwich back off far too much in the second half, and Jonathan Lecco just runs on goal and sticks a low shot in the corner. They just backed off him, and maybe that was inexperience. I'd need to see it again to work out where that inexperience maybe came from, whether it was the midfield or the defensive line. And then from I think it was a corner, soft free kick, but then a corner, the ball goes in off Tompkinson. It's a really unfortunate own goal, but the disappointing fact is that when the corner gets put in, the first contact comes from a Birmingham head. And Dean Smith is quite forceful on the fact that Norwich should be making those first contacts in both attacking and defensive set pieces. Obviously, you can't win them all, but that is the problem, rather than the fact that it went in off Jonathan Tompkinson and it was his own goal. Norwich have to win the first contact. And, the crowd flipped. It was a bit disgruntled until the 2 goals. Then it was delighted. And then it was all happy when Norwich were leading. And then it got a bit ragged. And then they were probably ready to get really on the team's backs. It is on a knife edge, really, the atmosphere here at the moment. But, they did stay with the team predominantly. And the penalty shootout was a lot of fun, because it was this end in front of the Barclay. And everyone loves a penalty shootout when you win it. Kenny McLean missed Norwich's first penalty. Don't be harsh on him, because the guy took actually scored the decisive penalty in a shootout for Scotland away from home for them to qualify for the Euros. So he clearly can take a pressure penalty. It's just one of those things. But I think everyone else scored. Are you going to want? Liam Gibbs took a brilliant penalty. Daniel Sanani scored his penalty. There was another one, I can't really remember it. And then Josh Sargent scored the decisive one, which was a lovely moment, because I think few people are just thinking, oh, please, Josh, please. But again, there is a willingness really for Josh to do well, I think. And that is a great moment for him to score a penalty to send Norwich through. Angus Gunn made 2 good saves as well. One of them probably better than the other, because Lecco's penalty was pretty poor. But hey, a saved penalty is a good penalty for a goalkeeper, isn't it? And 19,000 in here tonight, which is obviously great for a first round of the Carabao Cup. It was a takeover for the Community Sports Foundation as well, so a really lovely atmosphere regarding that, at least. And I think I've covered all the main points, apart from oh yes. So sometimes it can take a while to assess a player, and you don't want to go too soon, or you don't want to maybe rave, or you don't want to dig them out a bit. Aaron Ramsey came on, and I thought he looked quite raw and in a hurry and eager. He's young, he's inexperienced, so he's going to need some time. But he has come in as a player that Dean Smith really wanted. So if he gets a lot of minutes, he will have to develop and quickly and prove that he's worth those minutes, because you don't want. It will be hard then to justify it if he's not delivering. So he has come in to be at this level. So and if he gets those minutes, he'll have to deliver it, because this is the club trying to get promotion, and it's not going to sacrifice that for a young Aston Villa player to get some minutes. And that's me being probably quite harsh, but it is the reality of the situation as it stands. It's only his first few minutes, and he's only arrived this week or whatever. So let's give it a bit of time. On the counter side of that, I watched the Wigan game twice, as I said. I saw Marcelino Nunez come on tonight. He's a player. I think you can tell from the way he used the ball, from his speed of movement, from how he wins it, from his beaming smile when he runs on the pitch. And then, taking a Panenka in a penalty shootout, which he did in training as well yesterday when they all practiced, and Dean Smith chatted to his colleagues, his staff. He was like, yeah, but I don't think he'll do it in an actual shootout. And then he did. It was a crazy moment. I think Norwich have got a real gem on their hands. I know it's early, but you can just tell. And I have to say, it was like that with Emi Buendia. From watching the clips, you're like, oh, hello, okay, this is interesting. And then you could see Emi on the pitch, although he needed time to adjust, maybe without the ball and things like that. You could just tell the talent he had, and that once he adjusted to those bits, he'd be all over it. I don't even know if Marcelino needs much time to adjust to it, because he looks absolutely the real deal. So, you know, if I end up having egg on my face in a few months' time, I'll take it, because I'm been really impressed. And he looks like he's got it. So that's exciting, because Norwich need that, obviously, going forwards. I better wrap up because I've gone on a while, but count it as 2 video verdicts and 1. The Athletic, obviously, for some stuff, you know where I write it, theathletic.co.uk. My colleagues do amazing stuff. Go read their stuff as well. And Hot Takes is already live. I've got to do some work. And On the Ball podcast for Monday is there, and we'll do another one next week. I'll be at Hull at the weekend, which I'm absolutely looking forward to. Really interesting test, because there is a team hoping to get in the top 6 this year, and it will probably be the toughest test of all these, away from home. Norwich got a bit to prove, because they've not really done anything tonight. But let's see what we get, shall we? Right, I'll take that off. Have a lovely evening. Look after yourselves, and I shall see you all again very, very soon. Good night.